The time is 7:16, and we are now reconvened in open session. We will now consider action on closed session items. Mr. Burdine.
Yes, Madam President. I move to appoint Robert Marsh to the position of Director, Facilities Maintenance.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Burdine and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Mr. Rice.
Madam President, I move to renew and award non-Chapter 21 contracts of specified employees for the 2016-17 contract year as provided under separate cover.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. James. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Ms. Holliday.
I move to approve the resignation and release agreement between Portland ISD and most Fulton certified employees.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Helliger and a second by Mr. Rice. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Okay, next, activity report, Ms. Helliger.
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, since the close of our last meeting, a lot of our board members have been on vacation, but we have been doing some work over the last time we met. And I would like to highlight that we have been at the FECC Education Division State of Higher Education meeting, Leadership TASB, Go Public organizational meeting, Sugar Land Let's Stand Together event, as well as the Alpha Kappa Alpha Public Policy meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Helliger. Do we have any special reports this evening?
Yes, Madam President, I have such a special report. Now I'd like to ask the board and the superintendent to please stand in front of the dais while I make it. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Tasson, members of the board, Superintendent Dupree, it is my pleasure tonight to recognize one of our colleagues who recently completed the Leadership TASB course of study. Leadership TASB began in 1993 as a way to offer advanced leadership training to experienced board members. It is nationally recognized as the premier leadership training program sponsored by the Texas Association of School Boards. Upon successful completion of the course of study, the recognition of Master Trustee is bestowed on the individual. Leadership TASB is a highly selective program where normally only 1 in 4 applicants is accepted as a member of a class of 36 participants. Over a 10-month period, the class meets 5 times in 5 different Texas cities. They hear from nationally recognized speakers, tour a variety of school districts, and conduct personal research on a topic of relevance to Texas school trustees. Class members represent districts from all parts of Texas with varying sizes of student enrollment and varying levels of property wealth. Leadership TASB asks participants to work a little harder, to be challenged with new thoughts, and to renew their commitment to make a difference on behalf of the school children in their own home district and the entire state of Texas. Tonight, Mr. K.P. George joins the ranks of the more than 700 Leadership TASB alumni. Accordingly, I am very pleased and honored to present to Mr. George with his certificate as a lifetime member in the Leadership TASB Alumni Association. Please join me in a round of applause.
Yes, oh, no. For the people that might not. Let's get- Just a little bit. Thank you. Oh, that's great.
Thank you, Mr. Rice, for making that excellent presentation. I would also like to point out that I think Mr. George has some family in the audience. Would you guys like to stand? We had a little bit of a covert operation going to try to make sure they could be here and see you presented with that certificate this evening, KP. And on behalf of the board, thank you for serving. Thank you for being part of the program and for representing our district. We appreciate that. Okay, next on our agenda, we have our consent agenda. Does anyone have anything that they would like to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to remove item 9A and item 9G.
Okay, with the exceptions of items 9A and G, can we get a motion?
Madam President, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented with the exclusion of items 9A and 9G.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mr. George. Do we have discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
This is James.
All right, just a point of clarification, so on item 9B, which is board policy FNF local, we had changed some of the language in the student code of conduct. This is what, you can look on page 2, I think I'm referencing. I just want to point out, this is an updated version that's at our places. It changes the language in this policy to match the new language in the student code of conduct. Just scroll down just a little bit. Or other way, sorry. Up, there, up. So that first red paragraph there, where in response to is crossed out, and to prevent is put in there, and that just matches the language in the student code of conduct. That's different than what was published in the board book, and I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was important because we want to be proactive in making a safe environment for our students. That's how we do these types of canine dogs.
Thank you, Mrs. James.
Sure, I think we have any other questions on that policy? That's right. Yeah, it's me. So I had a question about the SCORE program, which is an MOU we have, and that's item E1. And I sent this in earlier, and if someone responded to me, email, I apologize for not seeing or reading. I was asking, it says in the information that 2 people are assigned to oversee or whatever this, 2 employees are assigned to oversee this program. And I was trying to understand, it says it's a no-cost program, that if we're allocating man hours to supporting it, that really does cost us something. So I was trying to understand what, how much time is involved in these people that are assigned and in the preparation of paperwork and so forth. That saves us, last year saved us about a little over $11,000.
Ms. James, I can address that. The 2 folks that are listed are really just contact people for Centerpoint to make phone calls to here and there. They really spend a minimal amount of time on the program. It's just mainly to district contacts and one is a backup if they can't reach the other.
Okay, so they're just sort of the identified contacts, and
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
really have to spend a lot. So how much time do we spend preparing? There was a mention that there's different paperwork and things that have to be prepared by November, so how much do we know?
I mean, maybe a few hours, but nothing more than that.
Okay, so not a significant.
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's great.
Can I just make a comment, Mrs. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Because this program should save us a lot more than $11,000 this year because of the amount of chillers that are being replaced. And normally the engineer of record will prepare the paperwork, and we have staff to try to keep track of that. And Centerpoint will give us a rebate for replacing older, less efficient equipment with newer, more efficient equipment. And so we absolutely need to take advantage of that.
I need to add, I missed this, my opportunity to hear, but I need to abstain from this vote because Centerpoint Energy is on.
Okay, then we will need to pull this item from the consent agenda. So do we need a new motion? We're going to need a new motion. So we will pull item E1. Is that correct? And can we get a new motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of 9A, E1, and 9G.
Okay, we have a motion, new motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mr. George. Do we have further discussion?
Yeah, I have one other question. On 9H, which is the authorization for the TEA login, TONT's logins. So is this person that we have designated, oh, that's sorry. This designation lasts for 2 years, and then it comes up again, it's automatically for 2 years. I didn't see in the item how long it lasts.
Yes, ma'am, it is for 2 years.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. James. Do we have any additional discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. Okay, can we? do I have a
Madam
motion?
President, I move to approve consent agenda item 9A as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. James. Do we have discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. James.
Wow. So I have a question about this. There was some discussion in this about that we were voting on the educational specifications. I just wonder if someone could define that, I mean, get that one. Because we've used that term before, and we talked about, elementary specifications. Just want a clarification of what that is.
Good evening. The term educational specification is designated by TEA to mean the program that will go into that facility. So it's the broad term of the type of programs that we're going to put in that facility.
Okay, so we saw a presentation of that last month, and we talked about those different areas, I guess, that were probably kind of color-coded.
Yes, ma'am. The
Described.
career communities.
Thank you. I'm gonna check with him. I need a glossary, I guess. Okay, and then there was, I made a note that there was some place, and I can't really see it right now, that there was an alternate proposed, and that was kind of discussed a little bit in some of the background information, I guess. And is that something that was continuing to explore, or is that not?
The alternate proposed would be for the 6 additional classrooms that we discussed potentially having. It would be for them being completed and not just a shell, if the budget allows for that.
Okay, so we do it sort of as an alternate, so that would be bid separately from the one that comes back.
Yes.
Okay, and then I had a question about,
Absolutely.
I had a question about the airport and wondered if there was a risk or any danger from the airport being right there, if the planes flying overhead, or if there'd be danger for students that we have come to the facility.
It's a small regional airport, so the traffic is relatively low. There will be planes taking off and landing, but I don't anticipate any problem. The whole community around there has been there for a while, and nothing crazy has happened, so I don't anticipate anything. The way the site is located, the CT site is the furthest part away from the takeoff and the landing, so it's as far away inside the site that you're on as possible.
Okay, and so that you, there was something in the information that said that there was a sliver of the property that was in a no-build zone, not a no-fly zone, and no build zone. Where is that? What was that? How much of the property is that?
I'm referencing a diagram that was inside the report that was conducted and commissioned by Fort Bend when we were looking at that site for a high school site. So there's a horizontal surfaces site. So if this is, I'll get myself oriented, north is up. You have University here, Chatham here. Our site is right here. The outermost edge, sliver, the very northwest corner. You can't see this, but this little sliver, using this scale, it's maybe 75 feet wide here and maybe 25 feet. So when you were planning your high school site, it's the furthest most edge, closest to the designated part. Here's University, and here's Chatham. So it is way, way over this way.
Okay, and the part that's surrounded in red is
The 65-acre site.
the site we're talking about,
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
the CT site.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
It's, the CT site is over here, sorry. The 65-acre site is here, the CT site is this little corner.
Okay, and where the red dot is the dash, what looks like a red dot or dash, that area is where the
Yes,
building
ma'am.
is. Okay,
And in the future, I think you would ever build on that, all the way out to that edge anyways.
right, but we might, kids keep coming, of course, I might speak, but we won't, because it's a no-build zone, but I just want to understand what we were.
Sure, but farthest away possible.
Okay, and when it's a no-build zone, can you put parking lot in that area, or a road or anything, or just absolutely nothing?
I would have to double check the FFA report, I don't state the answer to that. Could be.
And the adjacent land next to it is a park, is a city-owned land?
It's in the Telfair Master Plan designated as a park.
Yeah, but it's undeveloped at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, thank you for your being prepared to answer my question.
Any other additional questions?
No, that was my question, you know, what you're going to use that no-build zone for, or can it be used for park or something like that? That was my question. Thank you.
I do have one last question. I know that there was some discussion about this property being in the 100-year floodplain. Can you guys talk to us about that, and what does that mean, and how does that impact the center?
Yes, ma'am, I can go and talk to them. Stantec had their engineer go ahead and get with the city of Sugar Land, and they have gone ahead and reported to us that because of a levee that's been built around there, it is no longer in the 100-year floodplain.
Okay, so it's not in 100 years.
It is no longer there. It used to be when the property was purchased, it is not within it at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with no other questions, please vote. Motion passes. Can I get a motion for E1?
Madam President, I move to approve consent agenda item E1 as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mr. George. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes.
Madam President, I move to approve consent agenda item 9G as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mrs. James. Do we have discussion on this item? We need a delegate.
Yeah, we needed to designate a delegate, and I have done it the last couple of years while I was the board president, and I'd like to suggest that Mrs. Cossan be the delegate for Fort Bend ISD, and I'd like to suggest our vice president, Mr. Verdeen, as the
I agree.
Are you planning on attending the annual meeting in September?
So you?
As part of the gig.
You'll do it.
Excellent. I'd like to suggest that. Then I'd like to move that we have Mrs. Cossan be the delegate and Mr. Verdeen be the alternate.
I second. So is that technically an amended motion
Well, we moved it to,
for approval?
we made a motion as presented, but there was nobody in the blanks. So Mr. Morris,
Well, so really by consensus, it'd probably be best if by consensus you had withdrawal of the original motion and then a new motion was proposed rather than treating this as an amendment to the original motion.
so I seconded the original motion, so I'll withdraw, Mr. Rice, if you withdraw.
I will withdraw.
And I'll make a new motion that we nominate Mrs. Cossan as the delegate and Mr. Verdeen as the alternate delegate for the CASB annual meeting.
I second. Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. James and a second by Ms. Helliger. Do we have further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Motion passes. On to action. Item A1.
Madam President, I move to approve consent or action item 10A1 as presented. Do you want 1 and 2 or just 1?
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mr. George. Do we have discussion?
Yes.
Mrs. James.
So, Mr. Perez, I know you sent me an email, or one was forwarded to me, but I'm sorry that I couldn't really understand it. I read it quickly, but couldn't quite follow. So I was having some misunderstandings about the money that you're asking us to approve. In the recommendation, it talks about a certain amount, and then there's a project budget, it's a different amount. Do you help me understand that?
Excuse me, yes, ma'am. The project construction budget that you were talking about is the $1,963,100, and that refers to, that number refers to the total bid package for construction only. And then the prime contractor number that you were looking at, of the $1,981,826, refers to the total project budget. And, based on CB local, we bring to you the construction budget, and then we bring you the total budget for approval. And so that's why that difference was there, and it is confusing. I can see how that would confuse someone.
Ms. Walker?
And so can you explain why we make it, is the difference for the 600,000 based on the total budget, or is it because of just cost? There's a cost differential now.
Yes, sir. The contract that we're asking you to approve for prime contractors is just a construction amount. And then when you approve the total budget, that includes the design fees, the design contingency, the professional services. Then it also includes the construction contingency, site development, and administrative and other project costs and the project contingency. So if you total it all, that's why you have that difference. And, you know, we're asking for the approval of the contract amount for the contractor and then the approval of the budget to allow us to be able to move forward with the project.
All right, I think I kind of understand this now. So then, and normally when we, well, I guess not for these types of projects, but for schools, when we approve, we're doing the budget at the very outset, not after the construction is finished. Yeah. Well, that's what we're hoping to get to. So I think I'm following what we've got going here. So, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. What we do is we bring you, at the time of design, we will bring you a budget, and it'll be broken out in the same manner, but that is our best guesstimate. Once we get the actual numbers in, we adjust that, and then we bring this back to you to actually approve the construction amount and then the total project budget.
It's a clarification, this is the last question about this. This has been bid, this is the bid that we received, and this is the package that we want to accept. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So this is not necessarily a budgeted amount, this is a bid amount in which we've accepted this bid from this particular vendor.
Yes, ma'am. The amount, the 1,963,100 is the actual construction amount that we want to issue to the contractor. And then we'd like approval of the construction budget, because if we have a change order, then that, we have to adjust in the contractor's fee and everything, so we need that leeway based on y'all's approval to be able to get that accomplished.
Mr. Rice?
Mr. Perez, so I'm understanding it in this manner. Some months ago, or whenever this original budget was prepared, we had a budget for AE fees, for construction, contingencies, and so forth. Now that the AE has already been under contract for some time, designed this work, it's been put out for bid, bids have been received, they have exceeded our budget overall. So tonight you're here simply to get approval for the new construction contract with prime contractors and to amend the budget by an additional $599,023. We've identified how those funds would be allocated here in this item. And so those are the two things that we're going to accomplish tonight: approval of the contract and an amendment of the original budget.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rice.
Okay.
Additional questions? Mr. James?
All right, thank you, Mr. Rice, I think I understand that. So now we're roughly $600,000 over the original estimate.
Yes, ma'am. The actual amount is $686,060. And taking that from the bond program contingency, it still leaves us $6,861,600 at this point in program contingency.
All right, so that's in program contingency, is that what I heard you say there at the end?
Yes, ma'am.
Which means we're under budget for so far. I mean, in the bond program by $6 million.
Yes, sir. When you look at the overall budget,
Right.
yes.
All right, and then I have another question. Is the details for what's being done on these, where would a person find that? A person like me, or is it a person in the public?
Yes, ma'am. It is actually on the website, and you'll find it in the lower left portion of the project's monthly report under the scope/comment section.
Okay, so it lists out there Mission West Elementary School and all the things that are gonna be done at Mission West Elementary. And then it lists Bowie Middle School and all the things that are gonna be done there, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. If you go to the individual project, it will go ahead and list it.
What do you mean by the individual project?
In other words, the individual school. So if you go to Bowie, it lists what's happening at Bowie. And if you go to middle school, it lists what's happening at that school. That's all on that one.
Okay, and is this everything that's happening at, say, Bowie Middle School for the whole 2014 bond, or is it just the selected parts of the list for Bowie?
No, ma'am, this is what was included and what went to the voters.
Everything that was included in the 2014?
Yes,
Okay. And then the alternates that have been added, or adjustments that have been made in the alternate section, are those additions to the original list for the bond, or just revisions that your departments decided would be good, or where did those come from?
the alternates were actually put in place for us to have some leeway to see where the pricing was. And in one particular case, it was to go with VCT tile instead of carpet, because the request when we went out to the campus was that they would rather have tile than carpet. So we wanted to have the exact pricing so we would know where that came in before we brought it to you all for approval. But it was not anything that was what we call below the line. This was all included in the base proposal that was sent out and voted on.
So it was included in there to have carpet, or was included in there to have the tile?
It was included, it spoke about carpet. But when we went ahead and visited with the campus, their request was that they would much rather have VCT than carpet. So in order to find out whether that was less expensive or more expensive, we put that as an alternate.
I see. So these are ideas that have come up maybe and have been evaluated as being need on that campus. And so the design and construction departments use their best judgment to determine what the best way to proceed is.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. James. Mr. Rice, did you have anything else? There are no other questions. Please vote. Motion passes. Item 10A2.
Madam President, I move to approve action item 10A2 as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Rice and a second by Mr. George. Do we have discussion on this item? Mrs. James.
Yeah, so on this one, central warehouse, what is that? Where is that facility?
Yes, ma'am, that is one and the same, and that is our main warehouse on Julie Rivers.
Okay, that's on Blue Ridge.
Ms. Gallagher?
Okay, so this is kind of an extension of the last one. So I noticed that on this one as well, we had a $145,000 increase over the initial budget. And so I think you said that we have a $6 million, we're under $6 million in the current bond program. So not knowing all, not knowing all the other items that we, what we're going to be presenting, how are we keeping a track of these overages to ensure that when we get to, let's say, item number 235, we have the correct funds?
It's a last thing.
But Ms. Hunter, your point is well taken, because we, I think as we've gone so far, some things have been under, some things have been a little bit over. But if we're trending towards more over than under, then we need to have some awareness of that, because it's not gonna last us, we're gonna continue to have that problem as the next couple of years go by. And we don't want the projects that are at the end of the list to be shortchanged or underfunded, and we know we're heading towards having a tight budget, just because our funding from the state is not, is really less. So I agree with your point. We have to have an awareness about this is how we're proceeding.
When I do know construction costs are going up, and depending on what we have left in that, in our bond package, I see this trend increasing as we move forward. So just to make sure that we have the provide awareness, maybe keep a percentage of, some type of track of percentage increases, those kind of things on a regular basis, so that we as a board are aware of those things.
Yes, ma'am, and we meet with the architects on a regular basis where we have budgetary amounts that we're looking at, and everything that we're seeing so far in phase one is tracking very close to what the architects were predicting. So we continue to do this as we're going into phase two, and once we get into phase three. And, we definitely are monitoring that, and I report to Dr. Dupree every Thursday, and let him know where we're standing.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mrs. Tasson. Mr. Perez, you're satisfied that we have the funding remaining in bond fund reserves to fund these two projects as you've identified?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Dr. Dupree, could we ask you for an update on the financial status of the bond program? I know you have a meeting with the Bond Oversight Committee. They probably received that, but could we have a presentation at some point? I think it would answer the concern that the board has on that. We need to see exactly how much money we have left and your best estimate if we're going to run out before we finish the bond program.
Yes, sir, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Are there additional questions?
I have two more questions. One is simple, and that is PFC Annex. What is that? Where is that?
That is where the facilities department is located and the police department is located.
So it stands for, PFC stands for, is an acronym that stands for
Oh, boy, you just tripped me on that one.
Police Facilities Construction, maybe?
Yes.
That's
what it was.
Is that right?
That was the
Yes, so you keep wanting Police Facilities Construction. I did not make it up. I used contextual clues, nodding from the audience.
Police facility complex. I
And
changed all that.
Next question.
That's right.
Police Facility Complex Annex. Got it. Okay, so I didn't get it right. Thank you. And then I noticed on the Blue Ridge Elementary School, what was planned and what's actually the construction or the asked amount is about double. So was there a change in, what would be the explanation for that?
Yes, ma'am, that's a very good question. The cost increase on that one is due to the combination of a limited scope definition for the emergency generator line item. At locations such as Blue Ridge, where you're getting the new generator, the amount that was budgeted in there did not include all the infrastructure that's required to go ahead and make that function. And so if you have a location where you have an existing generator, you're replacing it, it's only the cost for the generator. But in the case here, there was not a generator, so once you bring the generator in, then you have to bring all the infrastructure, electrical, conduits and switch gear and everything for that to operate, and that's where that bus was.
I could definitely relate to that, because I just tried to replace my oven, and found out I had the wrong kind of wire, so. Okay, so that type of change, or kind of it's a scope change, right, from what we originally planned. How is that noted or anything? Is it noted any place in the place on the website that you referenced as the list? Like, how would we know that Well, the reason this is costing double is because we've had a scope change. You understand what I'm trying to say? So if a person is looking at this and trying to understand, is Fort Bend ISD being responsible with this money, how would a person be able to figure that out?
We would need to include in that monthly report in the comment section, the comment that I basically just made.
I think that would be a good idea, because that would help us to be transparent with the community, and they wouldn't have to try to scroll back through board meeting videos to try to figure out why, if they happen to notice why that was, so much more than they were expected. So I think that would be, I would like that. That. People should do this. And that concludes my questions, Mrs. Costello.
Thank you, Mrs. James. Hearing no other discussion, please vote. Motion passes. Item 11, Dr. Dupree, you're up.
Yes, ma'am. We've got 3 meetings coming up in the next month. On next Monday night, we have the superintendent's formative evaluation. It's kind of an informal discussion with the board superintendent, just to kind of see how things are going and just kind of touch base since the last evaluation discussion. And then we also, in August, we've got our workshop coming up. The big items we're going to have in August are going to be, we're going to do an update on STAR performance, and kind of where our IR schools ended up. We're also going to do an update on our truancy from the 15-16 school year. Of course, we've also got superintendent evaluation, goals and objectives for the 16-17 school year. We're hoping also to wrap up the E-Series policies in August as well, and move on to the policy series in subsequent months. And then we have several more items related to the 2014 bond program. You can see the bond program is definitely underway because you're getting out each and every month at this point. And then later in August, we'll conduct the board and executive team building activity. Any questions or feedback?
No questions. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:59?
I move that we adjourn.
We are adjourned.